Welcome back to Smoking Sports. I'm your host, Will Smoak. Coming back to you in August here. I'll have some football stuff coming up because it is that time of year again. But we are now going to go over my NBA offseason grades and the LeBron signing, Russell Westbrook retiring. Shout out to Westbrook. So we'll hit some NBA right now, and then there probably won't be much to go over for NBA. We should have a little bit of a slower period here unless there's some late off-season trades. Then I'll just throw that in there and probably a shorter episode. Otherwise, we will be coming up on some NFL stuff very soon. So NBA offseason grades, I went through all 32 teams in their alphabetical order. How you see it on an ESPN article and stuff. So starting off with the Hawks, and then we'll just go down Celtics, Nets, Hornets, all the way until the Wizards. And we're gonna start off with the Hawks here. I gave them an A minus because they didn't really give up anything. Exactly Ricochet, and I think like a second, but not much. A couple seconds or something for Lu Dort. CJ McCollum on a 1-year deal. I think that's good. McCollum is getting older, but he was still good enough last year, and this team could be possibly a contender this year not a contender, possibly make a run this year in the East. They actually won the most games against the Knicks last year in the playoffs, if that matters anything to you. So, but yeah, they only lost Zachary Ricochet, and they're getting Ryan Nembhard and Lu Dort. They also got Aaron Wiggins, so they got some very good depth pieces. Kept CJ McCollum. This team shouldn't fall off, and they caught their stride at the end of the year last year, so I don't see why they can't do it again this year. So that's my take on them. Is I don't see that. I mean, they had a good off season. I thought other people maybe had better off seasons in the East, but they did what they needed to do, and I think they can slide in there, maybe even miss the play-in, depending on if like the Kawhi trade goes through and injuries this year. The Boston Celtics, I gave them a B. I really like the Mitchell Robinson signing. I think that's good. They needed a center. Mitchell Robinson can play their center spot. He'll be a good dude. He'll extend possessions, be a solid defender. Paul George is a good fit, and Jason Tatum should be fully healthy, and he can just take Jaylen Brown's spot. But that's the problem, is that Jaylen Brown was an MVP candidate last year, and that's not exactly just easy to replace, especially when they'd already kind of gutted their championship roster from 2 years ago. So this was not a good offseason either. Now you have the huge Paul George contract, and you didn't really get too much worth out of those first-round picks, in my opinion. So I didn't like that trade. They could have gone out and gotten Giannis. That didn't happen. So they are getting a B. They did sign Mike Conley, who he can be an interesting depth piece to come off the bench. He hasn't been terrible either. So moving on to the Nets, C+. Julius Randle isn't moving the needle. He isn't doing anything for this team, and I know you didn't want to pay Nick Claxton, so you pretty much just got Julius Randle for really nothing because you were going to let Nick Claxton go. Well, you lost Zaire Williams. At this point, it's about building a team for the future. Keon Ellis can maybe, I don't know. It wasn't a great offseason in my opinion. They didn't do much to help their team. I feel like, and now it's just they just let them develop at this point. And if you don't do that, then in my opinion, this offseason was a complete waste. The Hornets a B. This B, however, is a lot different than the Celtics B. Because when we come back and look at what they've done this offseason, trading LaMelo Ball, trading Miles Bridges, we might look at it and go, oh, that was great moves, like an A+ offseason. Or it could turn out where it is a F offseason and it was terrible and they fell apart. So I gave them a B. It's a swing. It's a big risk. And I like the young core: Brandon Miller, Hannes Steinbach, Usa Diabate, Con Knippel. So I like the young core. They have some good role players. Kobe White can step in at the point guard spot, and they have Naz Reid, and they can still be competitive this year. I think it'll be interesting to see what they can do, because when I look at it, and if you were to ask yourself, if you took LaMelo Ball out of this offense, obviously they're going to get worse, and I think that's why it's a B, because I didn't see much greatness in this offseason. The Bulls, I gave them a B+. This might be unpopular. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what everybody else is giving them. But Nick Claxton is a very solid center. He's a great defender. Norman Powell has looked actually really good as a scorer in these past 2 years. So he can be the number one option, take some offensive load off of Caleb Williams, so he's not just an efficient chucker in his rookie year. I really liked their draft. Caleb Wilson, he looked great. Dalen Swain has upside. You still have Josh Giddey, Manas Buzelis. We'll see what happens with Noah Senge. We'll see. And they didn't really lose anything either. The Colin Sexton isn't really going to do much for this team. Anthony Simons, he wasn't going to do anything really either. So they left. And so I think it's a good offseason for the Bulls. The Cavs, B. Now, they haven't actually re-signed James Harden. He is supposed to come back. It is rumored that he's just coming back despite the contract delay. That's kind of what my expectation is. They extended Donovan Mitchell, which is great. They lost Dean Wade and didn't get LeBron. Okay? You also lost Larry Nance Jr. and Keon Ellis, who weren't huge, but they're still depth players. This is where it gets interesting. They could be like the Knicks, where now they run it back, and you take some ups and downs and some injuries out of it, and now they're the ones making their run, and they're in the NBA Finals next year. Or it could go completely downhill again. You lost this starter, and I'm not exactly sure who they're going to replace Dean Wade with. So, the Cavs get a B. Mavericks, I gave them a B+. Really, the future of this team is building around Cooper Flag, but they still have somewhat of the structure that they had when that title run with Luka, and now you just pretty much have Cooper Flag be the star instead of Luka. Is pretty much what you can have happen now. They kept Najee Marshall, and I really like their additions on the depth here. They added some solid depth pieces. They lost some solid depth pieces. I like taking a swing on Zachary Riza-Shea, see what he can do, because he's not number one pick level talent, but if he can be a solid role player for you, maybe. Although he was falling out of the rotation in Atlanta. Cooper Flag, if he takes a major jump, Kyrie's back, this team, I think, will be in the playoffs. If Kyrie's healthy and looks great and Cooper Flag is better. I like Santi Aldama. They also got Mark Sasser. They did lose Marvin Bagley, Chris Middleton, Ryan Nembhard. But I like what they've gotten here. So Mavericks get a B+. The Denver Nuggets, C-. They don't have any cap space. But they didn't do anything to fix their issues from last year. Their issues from last year were defense. And they couldn't stay healthy. And they just pretty much re-signed everybody. They lost Tim Hardaway Jr. And Marvin Bagley should be a solid, he should be a good backup center behind Nikola Jokic. But the Peyton Watson situation has still not been figured out. We are in a C-. It has not been good for the Nuggets. The Detroit Pistons. I'll give them an A if they re-sign Jalen Duren. I don't know what's going on there. I really like what the Pistons did this offseason. They didn't give up much to get some guys that can contribute off the bench. They got Isaiah Joe. They got Gary Harris and Taurean Prince from the Bucks who can be depth pieces. They did lose Karis LeVert and some other players, but they kept Kevin Huerter, Javonte Green, and then they signed John Collins. Now, they lost Tobias Harris, and that is my only concern with giving them this grade on the Pistons going into the year. Is that John Collins isn't as much of an ISO scorer and as good of a fit, I feel, in Detroit as Tobias Harris. What the Pistons need is more shot creation around Cade Cunningham, and John Collins isn't exactly going to provide that much. However, I still like what they did this offseason. They'll still be a very good team in the East this year. So, as long as they can just get Jalen Duren. The Golden State Warriors. A literal F. This is, I gave, I think, 2 Fs out in this whole thing. The Warriors get one of them. They re-signed some players. They got nobody new. Quinton Post left. He had been solid. They're only going to make the play-in. Steph is still good. I mean, what a waste. I mean, it looks like Axel Lenneborg, he's going to be good. And it looks like this team is just not, it's going to be terrible. I mean, even if Jimmy Butler comes back late in the year, it's not going to save this team and get them into a good spot for the playoffs. Stephen Curry is, the late years of his career have been wasted by the Warriors. Nothing's worked out. They kind of failed to build a team. They tried to do some double timeline and it never worked. So, after the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green incident, everything went downhill for this team. It has been terrible. They haven't made a single move all year. All offseason. It has not been good. They've been rumored for everybody. They missed out on LeBron. Missed out on Jaylen Brown. On Giannis. They got nothing. This team is going to be terrible again. And then NBA. Why are they playing on Christmas? And why are they the last night game on Christmas? Are we serious? Stephen Curry is a great player. But that doesn't change the fact that the Warriors are going to be terrible. They're playing the Denver Nuggets on Christmas. They are going to get absolutely destroyed by Nikola Jokic. Stephen Curry might drop 30, and it probably won't even matter. F for the Warriors. If I could give them anything worse, I would. The Houston Rockets, A-. They had their problems last year. It was rough, but I like their roster. They have Fred VanVleet back. They can make a run. Marcus Smart played well in big minutes for the Lakers. I wouldn't expect anything to change now that he's over in Houston. You still have Kevin Durant. You still have Alperen Şengün. Both are great. Tari Eason is back. Bogdan, and you really only lost Dorian Finney-Smith, who wasn't even that good for you guys last year. A- for the Rockets. The Indiana Pacers get a B+. They were decimated by injuries last year. Now they have Kelly Oubre, a better center than when they went on their title run. I like Braden Smith. That's who they drafted in the second round there. Now, Ivica Zubac is not going to space the floor like Miles Turner did, but I think he's a much better defender, and his offensive game inside, I think, is better than Miles Turner. So I really like that. They got Larry Nance to back him up. And they did not lose anybody valuable from this team. Tyrese Halliburton will be back. From what I've seen, he's been looking great. So watch out for the Pacers this year. Clippers, B-. I liked selling, I guess, pretty high on Kawhi. They weren't going to be any good. Kawhi just had a great year. But this team is just very mid now. They aren't good. They aren't terrible. Like, are we just betting on these lottery odds now because we brought in Grady Dick? I'm assuming in these grades that the Kawhi trade will happen. You brought in Rui Hachimura and you brought in Brandon Ingram. This team is not going to contend. They'll be playing at best. And if they do make it out of the play-in, if they win more than one game, I'd be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised if they got swept. I just don't get the vision here with this team. They're not trying to rebuild. Or at least I don't feel like they have young enough players to really rebuild. We got a bunch of 28-year-olds who are just second and third options. What are we doing here? Don't know. I do not go. They get a B-. Lakers A-. Some people have not liked their offseason. I have indeed have. They lost some good pieces. It's a lot of roster change this year in LA. They weren't a championship team. You take out LeBron's $52 million. And although LeBron was great in the playoffs, he's still a good player. He needed to leave. It was a good time for them to break up. He was taking on money and having three not good defensive liabilities does not work in Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron. I liked that they re-signed Austin Reeves. I don't care that he can't play defense. I don't care that they gave him the Supermax. Him and Luka Doncic are the best offensive backcourt in the league. And they will be for many years to come. I don't see what would change that at all. And JJ Redick, he's been doing it, working these two, and the Lakers have had a solid defense the past 2 years. Now you get Walker Kessler in there to be, I would say for sure, the best defensive center that Luka Doncic has ever had. He'll be a good lob threat. It's what Luka needs. It's the player that the Lakers needed, even if they overpaid for him very much. I like that trade. They got some depth pieces. Zaire Williams, Colin Sexton, Matisse Thybulle, Sandro. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. They are missing wing depth. They lost Rui Hachimura. But I think they're fine. I liked what the Lakers did this offseason. C-, A- for them. C- for the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay? I don't see a vision for this team. I just don't. They traded Ja. It makes sense. It needed to happen. I've already commented on that trade in a previous episode where I went over pretty much every trade that had happened this offseason. All crazy. But they got a lot of veterans this offseason, and they're not going to be competitive. Jeremy Grant and D'Angelo Russell, Isaiah Stewart. That doesn't mean anything here, I don't think. That's what I feel. Quinton Post can maybe be solid backup for you. And AJ Johnson is still young. But this team is on a rebuild. And I think they're going to be bad with a bunch of overpaid veterans. It just didn't make sense to me what they did. Heat B+. They made the move to go get Giannis. He's the fourth best player in the NBA. They have no depth, no guards, at least not quite enough for a championship. They should still be a good team. They kept Andrew Wiggins over Norman Powell, which was the right move. They're a better team than last year. They're better than any of the Jimmy Butler teams. They got Bobby Portis. So this team isn't quite as bad off as some people have made it seem. Tim Hardaway is huge. And it'll be interesting to see how Giannis and Bam go together. I think it'll work. But I think that this was the move that he needed to make. They needed to take a swing. They wanted to take a swing. And they went and got Giannis. And we'll see how that works for them. But I would give it a B+. Bucks B+. Same thing as the Heat. Other side of the trade. I like the return for Giannis. Brandon Burries looks promising. I mean, they're going to be terrible this year. But they have the pieces to be a good team down the road. We'll see if Nate Ament can figure it out. They really overpaid for Gary Trent Jr., but we'll see what happens there. Ousmane Dieng actually played really well in the garbage time that he had last year. And we'll see about all the guys that they got from the Heat. I don't know, B+. I think they got some promise. Minnesota Timberwolves, A-. Front court depth is weak. But LaMelo Ball and Ants are such a scary duo on paper that if they can play together, they're done. Anthony Edwards has been a great offensive weapon himself. LaMelo Ball creates a lot of offense. You can say whatever you want about him, how he's injured, how he drives too fast, how he hasn't been a winner, so to speak, since high school. And even then he was on the best high school team that has ever been assembled. At a public school, by the way. But LaMelo Ball creates offense. Anthony Edwards is offense. And the defense is still going to be very fine. You still have Jaden McDaniels, who might be one of the best third options in the NBA now. He shows up when it matters. As he showed in the playoffs last year, he can back up what he says. Your defense is great. The offense, I think, will take care of itself with who you have. And you're chilling. New Orleans Pelicans. F. They were terrible last year. And the thing is that they have good players. DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole is solid, Zion, Trey Murphy. You see what I'm saying here? But they can never put it together. They made no moves this offseason to go in any direction, and they're terrible. They were already bad. I think they need to build around Fears, Jeremiah Fears, and Derek Queen. Because if you were to look at this and go, do you think we should go all in? or rebuild. We're already terrible. Zion can't stay healthy, and DeJounte Murray hasn't been great in a Pelicans uniform either. Trey Murphy looks like it's about time to trade him, sell high. See if somebody give you 3 first-round picks for Trey Murphy. That would be huge for the Pelicans. But no, they did nothing. They need to get rid of Zion and DeJounte Murray. They need to give the keys to Jeremiah Fears, give the keys to Derek Queen, and that's it. Let them go to work. I mean, they were terrible already. And yet they changed nothing. Great for them. The Knicks, I'm giving them an A. They won the championship. They already had a great roster. They re-signed most of their players. Andre Drummond might hurt a little bit in the playoffs because he is not quite as good as Mitchell Robinson. But he can take that role. And I fully expect the Knicks to be running it back next year. They didn't really lose much outside of... They didn't lose anything outside of Mitchell Robinson. And they replaced Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks are still going to be good in 2026 and 2027. The Thunder, I gave them a B. Okay. I like Ade Mora as a draft pick. They did extend Isaiah Hartenstein, which is the right move. You want to keep Hartenstein because you don't know what if Thomas Sorber and Ade Mora don't work out. Then you're stuck. So I like that. They traded away some good players. Lou Dort, he wasn't great. They picked up quite a few second-rounders this offseason, and they also traded Aaron Wiggins. And I think they have the depth to do that. They had the depth. They still have the depth to do that. Jaron McCain and Bennett Sturts can pick up their slack. And A.J. Mitchell. But they traded away a couple players who were crucial to the team last year and didn't do much else. And Isaiah Joe left. So they lost, I think, a little bit more than they gained, which is not good in anything. Magic, B-. I mean, I'd hope they can rebound from a disappointing year last year. They pushed the Pistons to 7. But Desmond Bane was supposed to be an all-in move. And then injuries and just stuff. It just didn't work. Vooch should be able to take on a bench role and be solid. Nothing else meaningful really happened here for them. So B-. 76ers A+. You couldn't have asked for anything better if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I mean, think about it. You got LeBron James. They replaced everyone they lost with someone as good or better. They got their guys to go all in. The only concern is backup center, Adem Bona, because Embiid never stays healthy. This is his first year without having off-season surgery, so that's good. Really, when you look at it, Jaylen Brown for nothing for the price of Jaylen Brown. They got KCP, solid role player. Anthony Simons on a very good deal. Dean Wade, who now, I mean, if you look at this lineup, Dean Wade's going to be coming off the bench. That is great if you have Dean Wade coming off the bench. And they lost Andre Drummond, which does hurt that backup center. And Kelly Oubre Jr. for the wings, but they replaced that with Dean Wade. Me personally, I would have rather had Kelly, but it's a horse apiece. And then the name of it all, LeBron James on a 2-year deal for the vet minimum. And this is where I'm going to talk about LeBron. 76ers getting A+. I'm done with them. This is all about LeBron now. As apparently the whole NBA is. We had to wait on him for the schedule. But it makes sense. LeBron James was not kidding when he said that he wanted to go to a contender and that he did not care about the money. This is not going to be a financial decision. That was absolutely right. Because he had the options here. I think the Timberwolves and Nuggets were in it, but they were also kind of out of it. They weren't the finalists, but they were in that top 5. And I think the Nuggets have too many weaknesses. LeBron isn't as great of a defender now at 41, and the Nuggets' defense is already trash. The Timberwolves, I think it would have been good, but it probably just wasn't. It wasn't quite appealing to him. So we had 3 options left. He could have gone home. He could have had his storybook ending with the Cavs and seen if they could win a chip. And they would be competitive. But they have James Harden. Which, if you know anything about James Harden's playoff success, it's not great. So, there's that. You have that option. You have the Miami Heat, who you could go back to after you won multiple titles there before. They have Giannis. They have Bam. It's intriguing. Alright, you went there before. You liked it. Your family liked it. Or you could stay in California. And this is your fun option. And go play with your buddy Steph Curry. And see what happens there. Or you go to the Philadelphia 76ers. Because their team is already stacked. It is already championship ready. And now with LeBron on the team, even if Joel Embiid can't stay healthy, this team should be a top 3 seed in the East during the regular season. And they have Jaylen Brown. This team struggled with Embiid's health last year and was a good team. Now they have Jaylen Brown. Now they have LeBron James. LeBron James chose the best spot to go get a ring. Because he's chasing Jordan's elusive 6. And in my opinion, I respect it. I respect what LeBron's doing. I think you want to go and put yourself in the best position to succeed. As everyone tries to do in life. That's what he's trying to do as he winds down his career. He wants one more ring. And the 76ers were the best spot to get it. That's why LeBron went to the 76ers. Now, I'm going to say I told you so, but I did say LeBron was going to go to the 76ers, so I must be pretty good at this or something. Okay, we'll move on. We'll keep going our off-season grades now that we're done talking about LeBron James. And we are on to the Suns. Winding it down here, only a couple teams left. C+. They kept Dylan Brooks, kept Colin Gillespie. Great move. Shout out Colin Gillespie. I remember watching him in college. Dog. Kept Mark Williams. So they low-key chilling there. Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal left. Oh well. They got Luke Kennard. Yeah. And they got Miles Bridges. Yeah. However, they gave up like a first-round pick for Miles Bridges, and it feels like a real trade. Because they're not good enough to win a championship with the roster they have, even though Miles Bridges makes them better. They're just not good. And at very best, they're like a 7 seed. And it's very possible that you get some injuries or things just don't click and you're back at the 13 seed and you win 30 games. This is another team where I don't see the vision. I don't know what we're trying to do here. This isn't This ain't 2K where you can just assemble this weird odd team and then play every game and win a chip because you set it on rookie. This ain't how it works. And it's just not gonna happen. Trailblazers. In A. They got someone like Ja for a guy that they didn't really even need anymore in Jeremy Grant. Because they got Denny Adbia. He took another step. I think it's a great move. They did not lose much. Chris Murray, Matisse Thybulle outside of Jeremy Grant. Nah. And they kept their guys. They got their guys. I like the young guys. So we will see what happens. I don't know. We'll see. Kings, C-. Yeah. Now, this was going to be another F. It's going to be a ridiculous... this would have been my third F. Because the Kings, they sucked. They didn't do anything to change. They're going to be terrible once again. The only reason it is an F is because I really like Darius Acuff Jr. He seems to play less defense than Luka Doncic and Trae Young combined. But he's a stud offensively. So, yeah. Spurs, A+. The San Antonio Spurs had the best offseason of any team in the NBA. And that includes the 76ers. They were better than the 76ers. Their offseason was better. They literally made the NBA Finals. They didn't lose anyone. Not a single player. Victor Wembanyama signed his Supermax, took less money. Tobias Harris joined the squad. He can be a physical scorer. The San Antonio Spurs are running back the same roster that made it to the NBA Finals. Beat out the Thunder. And now they also have Tobias Harris. I think they had the best offseason of anybody in the NBA. The Raptors in A. Once again, assuming the Kawhi Leonard trade goes through. If it does, he fits perfectly on their team. Right into that 3-4 spot. He's their guy they needed to win a chip in Toronto because he's a two-way player. And their defense, Toronto's defense, was already top of the league. And now they're adding Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. And you know what else? If they don't even need him on defense, we good. He's going to create a lot more half-court offense. And Scotty Barnes can really slide into what I believe is a natural second option role for him. And they also signed Kyle Anderson for some depth. But it is a great fit, and the Raptors can really go all in if it goes through. The Jazz, B+. They got a lot of picks, and they didn't have to pay Walker Kessler. They weren't going to do that. They have some center depth. The future is bright with Darren Peterson, and I think that if the Utah Jazz are ever going to contend, if they're ever going to not suck, it's going to start this year. They got Jackson Hayes, kept Yusuf Nurkic. But when I look at their lineup, to me, the lineup says this is a good team. Keontae George, Darren Peterson. I'm not actually sure who they're going to start, but in my mind, it is Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, and Triple J. However, I'm not sure if Triple J can really play center. I'm not sure if they're going to run a Triple J center lineup. He's not quite the rebounder, not quite a big of a threat that they need there, so it might be Yusuf Nurkic at center, and then I guess Ace Bailey is not starting. So be it. But B+, if they're going to be good, this is their year, and if they're not, I'm telling you right now, they're just going to be trash forever. The Wizards, A minus. They re-signed Trae Young. They got some veteran depth. And above all else, they should be a good team this year if they can stay even remotely healthy. I think AJ DeMonsta will be great. Trae Young creates offense. Whatever you want to say about him. Anthony Davis, great two-way player when he's healthy. They already kind of got a young squad of dudes around them that are good. So I think the Wizards can also be a competitive team this year. This offseason, there was a lot of movement to do. And should be exciting. This next NBA season will be a lot different from the past one. We'll see what happens with Kawhi Leonard and aspiration. But just before we close out here, I wanted to give my shout out to Russell Westbrook announcing his retirement from the NBA, from basketball. And he was a great player. He was a 9-time All-Star, a 2-time scoring champ, 3-time assist champ, 9-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star MVP, was the 2016-17 MVP, was on the All-Rookie team, on the NBA's 75th anniversary team. The dude played in 1,301 total games during his career, finished with 20.9 points a game. I mean, he was a great player. And it'll be interesting with Russell Westbrook gone. He did still bring some excitement, a lot of energy to that Nuggets team, like when he was there. I mean, triple double king. Man, you see a ridiculous all-time career record in triple doubles with 209. He averaged a triple double in, I believe, 4 seasons. He was ridiculous. 27,000 points. Russell Westbrook, he's not going to get talked about in GOAT debates, but he had an amazing career. So, Russ, enjoy retirement. And the NBA, the 2010s, NBA will remember you. So that'll wrap it up for this one. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow if you're on Spotify. I'll be back, and I'm Will Smoak, signing off.